What happens when you're ready to die and God says no?
Looking at my past and going, what a big disappointment I've been. Looking at my future and going, I have nothing. God, I just wish you would take me off this planet. I had a massive heart attack. Well, John, do you want to stay or do you want to go? If you decide to stay, I'll be with you and I'll give you a purpose. I left there in worse condition on the outside, but on the inside, I knew that God had a purpose for me.
With me, John Stewart Hill from the Good Contractors List, and my provocative opening question to you is probably unlike any other question I have ever asked John. What happens when you're ready to die and God says no?
Oh, wow. That is a pretty deep question. It's when you don't have all the answers, the only thing that you can do is say yes. And so when he says it's not time, it says, okay, well, I don't know how to do this. It's time for you to show me what I need to do. And so that's where I started this whole journey, is from a place of, I'm tired of trying to do this on my own. I'm tired of trying to figure all this stuff out. I need help. And the only place I could get it was from God. And that's where I was. He said no. I said, okay, then I say yes to you. You show me and I'll follow.
So now you need to take us there, how you got to this moment where you felt that it wasn't worthwhile hanging around. I know there's divorces. I know there's all kinds of things. So take us through this rock bottom moment, or I prefer to call it the trigger moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll kind of go back even further into my childhood. I was raised in a Pentecostal church. Lovely people, beautiful, wonderful people. But if you know anything about the Pentecostal denomination, it is very much a hellfire and brimstone kind of teaching. And it's like, if you enter into heaven with a mark on your book, you're not going. It's over for you. And so I learned very quickly early in life to perform, to be everything that I needed to be for the world. You know, everything I needed to be a good Christian, a good son, a good whatever. It didn't take very long into getting into my teenage years to realize that I wasn't going to live a perfect life, and that there are so many things now fighting against me. I'm now at that age where I start looking at the opposite sex, and I'm driven by the message that says, if you even look, it's bad. One of my big things I wanted to do was get married. Man, if I get married, I'll be able to live a good life because I know how to be a good Christian. I know I got to go to church. I know I've got to read my Bible. I need to, all these things, that checklist that you have to go down to please God. And so I lived my whole life based on kind of that core feeling of I've got to do the right things or I'm no good, or it's all for naught. And so I just had a roller coaster life, and I found myself at 42, divorced 3 times, never really had a career of any sort. I was in the Navy for 11 years and got out and started trying to sell things and do different things like that just to try to make a living. And here I was at 42, living with my girlfriend, looking at my past and going, what a big disappointment I've been. Looking at my future and going, I have nothing. I don't know where I'm going, or I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have a career. I don't have an education. What am I going to do for the rest of my life? God, I just wish you would take me off this planet. Now, I don't know if there are any listeners out there get to that point where it's just like, I don't really want to be here anymore. I'm tired. I'm worn out of trying and failing. And that's where I was in February of 2011. And I'd been praying for 2 months that God would just remove me from the planet.
So it takes a lot to get there. And now you are at this moment. And did you just get a straight answer? Like, how did this moment unfold? Did the sky open, angels sing, or was it a little bit more pragmatic than that?
Well, it started by him answering my prayer. I've been praying, God, take me off this planet. And in February of 2011, I had a massive heart attack and didn't realize it was a heart attack at first. And it was during a freeze that had hit the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex during the Super Bowl time. Some people might remember that we almost didn't have a Super Bowl that year because of the freeze. And so all the roads were frozen. I made it into the hospital, and they thought it was pneumonia at first because my lungs had been filled with fluid. I thought it was because I was smoking, and I probably should just stop smoking. But later on, they found out that it was more than pneumonia. It was actually I'd had a heart attack. And as they're willing me to ICU, I had all I can say is like, I didn't hear an audible voice or anything, but it was an impression that came so out of the blue, so strongly in my spirit that I knew it didn't come from my mind. And it was like that final question, well, John, do you want to stay or do you want to go? And it just kind of caught me off guard. I knew I was heading in there to get more tests done, and I knew it was my heart, and I knew that it was imminent, but I didn't know that I still had the choice to stay or go. So when God brought that into my spirit, I was like, do I really want to go, or do I want to stay? I think I want to go. But then there was this voice that was louder than all the rest. And this is what it said in my spirit was, if you decide to stay, I'll be with you and I'll give you a purpose.
Oh, wow. So I think this is a really critical piece. As this episode is first airing, it'll come around the holiday time, which is divine timing. How we make these things happen without even knowing that this is going to be happening. I was just doing the schedule, and you literally are the holiday episode. And I know that people around this time of the year get pretty heavy. I had a complete meltdown at the home decoration store because I was confronted with having lost everything. And now in the holidays, I can't decorate because all these ornaments, the handmade stuff, the kids made, all this stuff is gone. And I'm standing there and tears are running down my eyes. And not everybody has an exact moment like you and I had, but everybody has some sort of a moment.
Yes.
What are you going to tell people? What's the message that you want to give them if somebody is at rock bottom? What are we going to tell them?
Going into that and leaving, actually, after I had the heart attack and I went home, nothing changed on the outside. Matter of fact, it was in a worse shape than before because now I had a severely damaged heart that required a pacemaker defibrillator to even get it to squeezing normal. So I was living at a quarter of what a normal heart was operating at. I was still broke. I was still there, all these things. And the only thing I had to hold on to was what I heard that day. If you stay, I'll be with you and I'll give you a purpose. So I left there in worse condition on the outside, but on the inside, I knew that God had a purpose for me. And I can tell you that if you're on this planet alive today, God has a purpose for your life. The great thing that I think that was the best thing was that I had no idea what that purpose was. I didn't come out of there going, you know what? I'm going to take all the talent, all the education, because I didn't have an education. I just graduated high school. I never had anything that I could pile up to say, look what out of all the things I've done, now I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do this. I had none of that. So all I had to hold on to was that I had faith that God spoke to my heart and told me he'd be with me. And so every day, that's what I did. And it's like in the Bible, it talks about how in order to live, you have to die.
Mm-hmm. But what they're really meaning is an ego death, that you...
Death to self, yes. Death to that. We identify hey, come on, right now the world is in an identity crisis. We don't know who we are. And so we spend all of our time trying to decide who we are, find ourselves, right?
Uh-huh.
When what we really need to do is lose ourselves. And I think at that point, when I said, I think I'll stay, is when I chose to literally die to myself and say, whatever your will is, I'm in. And so that's where I was. And so when I left there, all I could hold on to was that if I have a purpose, which I believe I do now, then he's going to take me to it. And that means I might have to go down some streets that are uncomfortable. I may have to be halted for a moment. There's times that he's going to bring something in my life that is going to propel me forward. And so I put all my faith in that. And then 6 months later, with no money, no education, no business experience, never started a company, never had any kind of background in business. I started my own company. And so
I want to clarify that. So was it hope? Was it the promise of something in a future and you for the first time had hope? Was that it or was it something else?
it was hope,
Mhm.
but it was also knowing that right now, today,
Mhm.
my past is gone. There's nothing I can do about it. My future isn't here yet. So right now, even though I might not be doing things that look big to anybody, I'm fulfilling my purpose today. So I made this deal with God that if I do decide to stay, I would not be the same person. I said, and I gave him 3 things that I wanted if I stayed, because I had about an hour before the cardiologist could even get there from the freeze. And I thought about this. I said, listen, if I'd like to stay, if that's okay with you, God, but I want to be remembered for doing something good. I want to live every day, not just be alive. And I want to touch as many people as I can while I'm left on this planet. And louder than any voice that I heard, so be it. So be it.
I just got the chills all over. I love this. And I think this is so critical, and I'm so glad you took it down to such detail, because in this episode I really want to give people this piece to say sometimes you not knowing is the point of why you are where you are, because you need to get to that full point of surrender.
Yes, absolute. Yep.
So now you're fully surrendered. How did you get this idea then? Where did this idea come from? And what is this idea?
Yeah. So I was selling coupons. You've probably seen those envelopes that come to your house that has coupons in them. I was selling ads on those coupons. And one day I was out talking to a plumber, and he wasn't a big guy. He was smaller, but he's been in the community a long time, very trusted plumber. And he said, you know what? I don't have the money to buy the whole market by myself, but I have a really good electrician that I trust, and I have a really good roofer that I trust that I could share this ad with. And I started thinking through it, and I was just like, it'd be kind of confusing to have 3 different guys on one coupon. And I said, what if we maybe built a website where you're the only plumber, he's the only electrician, and y'all just built this group of good contractors that people can trust, and we just send them to one place. And he's like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. It kept me awake at night. It was like, John, this is yours. I want you to go do this. That's what it felt like. I was like, wait, I've never owned a business before. Nobody's even trusted me to be in management. What do you mean? This is mine. How do I do it? And it was just like, trust me. So I went into my boss's office it was called Money Mailer. And I said, hey, I've got this idea. And I was in outside sales. I was making $35,000 a year in outside sales. And so I could have been testing this out, like talking to contractors and saying, hey, would you want to be a part of this? But I immediately saw that wouldn't be integrity. And I did not want it to start like that. So I went in with my job and told him, I've got to go do this. This is something I feel like I have to do. And I left the company with 1 check coming to me, nothing in the bank, no savings, and started talking to contractors. And I went around and started asking, who's the good guy in town? And I brought my little yellow legal pad and a pen, and I was drawing on it. Someday we're going to have a website, and this is what it's going to do. I was like, so I was sitting down with contractors that I wanted to separate from the bad guys. And what I told them is that, listen, when we get this thing built, all of your work's going to be guaranteed by me. So if you're on one list where all the contractors are guaranteed to do a good job, so homeowners will be protected. And they saw it, and they started joining. They started writing checks before I had a website. I was literally showing them on a legal pad what my idea was. And it just started growing. And it's called the Good Contractors List.
So how did you feel at that time, if you remember that? Because you were all out and then you were all in. And so it suddenly just emerged. How did you know that this was that idea?
You know that you heard that term that that you know. That's that's all. That's the only way I can explain it. I had no reference. I didn't have any business background. There was no reference. Matter of fact, when I would talk to people, they would say, "This is the worst business model I've ever heard." What do you mean? So you're going to limit the contractors that you can sell to, and
Yeah.
you're going to raise your liability by guaranteeing all of their work?
Mm-hmm.
You can't trust contractors like that, dude. You're going to crash and burn before you get out of the chutes. And I heard that more than once. And so, all I can say is I'm really thankful that I'm not a businessman, because businesses are geared toward one thing, and it's very self-centered. It's very money driven. And I went in with a purpose driven idea. What if we took less from people, we gave them more, and we were able to protect them?
So what is the actual model that you've built?
Well, it's kind of evolved over the years. And even after I've been in business now for 14 years, we just had our 4th annual 10-year dinner, and I have contractors who are still in this group today that signed up before I had a website. So it is a collective of good contractors that are committed to doing the right thing to protect homeowners. And they're all under the umbrella of the Good Contractors List, which offers a $25,000 guarantee to the homeowner that they won't be taken advantage of. So literally everyone in the organization is responsible. And so homeowners, they've over the years, now we've only been in DFW until just recently. It was just the Dallas-Fort Worth market. And so we just 3 months ago decided to go national, and we're already in 18 different states. So it's like, it's starting to grow, and now I have the infrastructure to help it, to collect it and actually grow it. But it is a movement, and I'm calling it the Good Contractors Movement to protect homeowners.
You talk about something called collective authority. What is that?
So most contractors, they only know one thing. They have to get enough accolades to separate themselves from all the other contractors out there. It's all about self-promotion, right? And so everything's focused on what I can give you, why you should hire me. And they're not a part of anything bigger. They might try to go to the roofing association or whatever association they're a part of, but they always use it as an accolade. It's just an accolade. And so over the years, this $25,000 guarantee, I realized that contractors a lot of times are using this to close more business. It's about the accolade. I'm backed by a $25,000 guarantee. Contractors were coming to me now trying to get on the list. And so now I didn't have to have other contractors working together. And so it evolved back to this movement recently when we decided to go nationwide. And so the idea is that as a collective, you that are banded together, and you're policing the list. You're making sure that only the good contractors are on here. If you hear through the grapevine that there's a contractor in this group that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, we get rid of them. And we have a collective authority. So as a group of contractors banded together, you're much stronger and you have a much greater authority than as someone who's trying to gain soul. The collective authority is safer for everyone. And so if they get homeowners to register and say, this is the one safe place for you, then the homeowners start trusting the collective more than they trust the $25,000 guarantee or any other kind of things that they've ever heard. They trust a group of contractors who are committed to doing right. And the homeowner actually has a say too. And so now we're all working together to make sure that the right people are there taking care of homeowners. And as a collective, we can do so much more.
How is this business model different than from the other business models out there? I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to even ask this question properly, but it feels like you are creating a different business model in general. So what is the business model? Is it a community-driven business model? How would you describe it?
Yeah, so I guess the best way to describe it is to describe first the model that exists, right? Since there's been contracting, the only option that a homeowner has is this two-way agreement, right, between them and the contractor. It's a two-way agreement. So every horror story that you've ever heard started with a two-way agreement, right? I mean, it's how everything gets started. It's their word against the contractors. And at the very end, if they don't agree with the quality and the contractor says, no, I did a great job and you're just crazy, then they have no choice but to either go write a bad review or try to bring them into some kind of legal action, which usually costs way too much. So homeowners are left completely unprotected. On the contractor resource side, the goal is sell as many leads as you can to as many contractors as you can for as much as you can. That's a great business model, right? Because now I can sell multiple leads like Home Advisor, Angie, all those now. I can sell multiple leads to contractors, and I don't care who the homeowner gets. As long as I'm selling these leads, my company's booming. We flip the script completely. The good contractors list, okay, I'll just tell you how much we even charge. This is ridiculous. It's a $500 setup fee and $250 a month. That's it. A contractor comes on, becomes a partner with us, and they help us build their safe contractor community.
Uh-huh.
They have a say in who the electrician is in their town. Which one is the guy I trust? And they start bringing contractors to us. We help bring that community together. They get all their homeowners to start registering, and it creates what I call a community-driven lead ecosystem, which means that the contractors who are good and do business right are found in one place, thegoodcontractorslist.com. They're all saying the same thing. Don't hire contractors if they're not guaranteed. Don't hire contractors just by reading reviews. You need to have a guarantee that you're not going to be ripped off.
If somebody doesn't fit the bill, then the community comes together and says, we gave John like 16 chances, and I'm not hearing good things about him. I don't think he should be in the list. And then it becomes a communal decision.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of contractors who have been labeled bad contractors because of normal life experiences. Contracting is hard. And so they may have hired the wrong team to do the flooring part of it. And they're having to go back and fix it because it isn't about whether you're perfect, because there's no perfect contractor out there. It's about how do you handle things when things go wrong.
Yeah. And I see this in my husband's business all the time in the renewable energy. The joke is the last one who was on the roof made all the, put all the holes in. And then it turns out that the roof wasn't properly waterproofed, that they missed the piece around the chimney and the water was coming in, which they have nothing to do because they're pegging the roof for the solar panels. So yes, I agree with you. I think there's also a responsibility part toward the homeowner to say, look, you also have an obligation to find out what really happens and where these problems originated, because you always told that, of course, it was the other guy. So the information that you get is also incorrect. So now talk to us. How far have you taken this business now, 14 years in? Is it everything that you wanted?
I think it's getting there. In 3 months, we're in 18 different states already. I think it's going to change the entire contracting industry.
I hope so, because I think the technical term is, I know a guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know a guy who can do the concrete. I know a guy who can do the door. I know a guy who can do this. So that's really beautiful. So as we're wrapping this up, you said to me that divine guidance is the most scalable system you can ever use. So give us some thoughts on that as we're closing this episode.
It's not about me. I actually wrote a song one time. It's not about me. Like after this all had happened, I realized I'm not here for me. I'm not here to rack up as much, because when I die, whether I have millions in the bank or nothing in the bank, the only thing I can hold on to is, did I fulfill my purpose? And so by looking at and helping other people reach their goals, by helping other people see their value, by letting them know that there's something much greater than them that they can turn to to find peace, to find joy, and to stop trying so hard to fix themselves, to try to stop trying to live up to what other people think, that it becomes scalable, because it doesn't matter what the outcome looks like. You did the right thing. Purpose is scalable. So my advice to everybody is, let go of what you think you're supposed to be. Stop working on your self-identity and just turn to God and say, I'm yours, use me. And he is going to use you. You know, like the Bible said that we were bought with a price. If he owns us, if we truly resign our will for his will, he's not going to do something that's going to hurt the kingdom. He's not going to do something that hurts people. He's going to do something that helps people. And so I would just suggest to stop wherever you are and say, I'm here, I'm valuable, and I have a purpose. Just recognize it and turn to God and let him take you where he needs to take you.
Beautiful.
It might be building a good contractors list.
What a beautiful message. So for anybody who wants to find out how to find a good contractor on a good contractor list, where do we send them?
To thegoodcontractorslist.com. And like I said, this is a movement. So we need the help of everyone. Homeowners go there, and there's a place where you can refer a contractor. So if you know a guy, right, that can do that is high in integrity, that will always do the right thing, that will take care of clients, that deserves to be able to be a part of this movement, then go to thegoodcontractorslist.com and refer that contractor. And if you're a contractor listening to this and you're like, hey, I've never heard anything like this, I would love to be a part of something bigger than myself, something bigger than self-promotion, and something that's going to change the contracting industry and bring light to this dark space, go to thegoodcontractorslist.com and go to become a good contractor and fill out our form, our initial screening form.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, John. It was really fun to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. And that is it for us for today. Thank you so much for listening to or watching this episode. And I think one of the best parts about this episode today really was that no matter where you are at right now, if you stop pushing and you let the message come through, you never know what's going to happen. And with that, we wish you a wonderful holiday season. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for listening to and sharing our episodes. And we see you again soon. And goodbye. That's it for this episode of the Business Growth Architect Show, Founders of the Future. If you're done playing small and ready to build the future on your terms, subscribe, share, and help us reach more trailblazers like you. And if you're serious about creating, growing, and scaling a business that's aligned with who you are, schedule your Uncovery session at uncoverysession.com. Lead with vision. Move with purpose. Create your future.